even if you're on the really low doses, you're going to get the benefits from staying on the meds for at least 4, 5, 6 months. And once they stay on the meds for that long, then they don't want to go off
Uh-huh.
because they're like, whoa, I have never felt my arthritis feel better in my hands. I mean, there's so many things here to think about other than just that a little bit of weight.
Welcome to the GLP-1 Hub podcast. I'm Anna Reisdorf, registered dietitian, GLP-1 user. Today I'm talking with Beth Gerhart, co-founder of Tyde Wellness, who has spent 5 years in the GLP-1 space helping patients lose weight safely and actually keep it off. We're digging into what realistic weight loss looks like on these medications, why some people are super responders, and the exact habits that you need to build right now, whether you plan to stay on this medication or come off. If you're getting value from this show, make sure you take a second to leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or drop a comment on YouTube. It really helps us reach more people in this community. I am so excited today to welcome Beth Gerhart, the founder of Tyde Wellness. And we are going to talk today about a couple of things that I think are really important, keep coming up as questions in our community. Number one is consistent weight loss. What does that actually mean? And what does that look like? How do you maybe make that happen? And then sustainable weight loss over time. So maintaining your weight loss, what habits you need to put in place right now, whether you stay on or off the medication. So welcome, Beth. Can you
Thank you
introduce
so
yourself
much.
a little bit and tell the
Yeah.
people about your history and who you are?
Thank you so much for having me. I am co-founder of Tyde. We work with everything from compounded medications. We work with insurance. We kind of do it all. We have other peptides too, but our main focus is GLP-1 weight loss. I have been solely focused in the GLP world now for about 5 years. I lived in California when kind of the boom took off and learned a lot about the medication. And I've really honestly learned so much from our patients. And something that I was able to bring to Tyde is really working on habits, sustainable weight loss. Our goal is really to make sure that our patients feel their best and feel successful during the process. This is real education. These are things that we obviously use strategies we use the balanced plate method. We work with, patients from where they're at and where they're coming from. And many people, as you know, have come from a background of dieting. So that's kind of where we start.
So let's talk about sort of expectations around the medication. I've been trying to do a lot of education about this. And what is like sort of an expected weight loss on the medication? What would you consider a good result? Obviously, it's going to vary individual to individual.
Yeah. And we have the stats, right, from different medications. And that could be anywhere from, 15% body weight up to 22% body weight. And everyone is very different in how they adjust and how they progress with the medication. And also dosing. So this is not a one size fits all. Typically, when we see kind of that initial weight loss, that we call it like the whoosh effect in the world of weight loss. And I'm sure you understand what I'm talking about. If I have a patient that comes to us that is really not following any kind of diet program, maybe they need to lose significant weight, like maybe they need to lose 80 to 100 pounds. They're eating out, 3 times a day. That is typically when I see that little more aggressive initial weight loss. And then I can have a patient who is dieting, counting calories, doing all the things, and nothing's moving. Well, when they start a GLP-1, they might see their weight loss a little bit slower. I hate to use the word slower, but typically, what we see across the board is 0.5 pound to 2 pounds a week for safe and effective weight loss. And that's what we recommend to our patients. And I always tell people, your neighbor around the corner maybe they're losing differently, but what were they doing before they started the medication? And another thing that we talk about is the metabolizing the medication. You metabolize the drug very differently than I metabolize the drug. I kind of relate it to an Advil. Some people need 1, some people need 4. And you really don't know how you're going to respond to the medication until you start.
Do you have any theories or guesses or anything as to why some people are these super responders and some people are just
Yes.
2 pounds a month people?
Yes. And I know this is going to be documented, but I do see people that have more muscle mass respond a little bit faster, or maybe I hate to use the word better than others. But yes, I personally have seen that. We don't have any studies documented. There's going to be studies done in the near future, especially with the rise in GLP-1 medications. I hope we can do that because we definitely see that. I also, like I mentioned, I definitely see people that make a drastic change in their diet. And those are the people that can and oftentimes do in the beginning maybe lose a significant amount of weight and then they stabilize. And we really prep people for that. If you're making significant changes, you might see that initial loss and then things start to stabilize.
Sure. So, is there any danger in being a super responder? Do you have any concerns? Do you try to slow the weight loss down at all if people are losing, like, I don't know, 20, 30 pounds a month or?
Yeah, so we usually keep, obviously, depending if they're on insurance or compounded medication, sometimes insurance kind of dictates what happens, which is out of our control. We have super responders that start on, the lowest dose and they're losing significant. And we usually, when we see that, we usually say, okay, let's hold steady. And obviously making sure that you're getting in the nutrition you need. And that's always our first question. If someone's losing drastic weight, are you eating enough calories? Because you never want to stop eating. And that's one of the biggest things on the medication. Our goal is to make sure you're getting in the calories that your body needs so that as you progress on the medication, you're losing safe, effective weight. And then also you're able to transition nicely, one day when you're finished with the meds or not. Maybe you want to stay on maintenance.
Sure, definitely. And so, for a person like that, they would just stay on. And then, so when do you decide that it's time to go up on the dose?
If
Because I mean,
someone's
obviously it's like the 4-week thing for the, like, pharma says that, but that's not really happening.
Yeah. And, this is what we specialize in. So we go through kind of a variety of topics. If it's time to increase, are you experiencing more food noise coming back into play? Are you feeling the benefits of the medication? Are you feeling the benefits of maybe you're not finishing your plate? Are you feeling like you're snacking throughout the day, which is a little bit of that food noise, but it's definitely different what food noise is and snacking. There's different things to talk about there. That's a whole nother topic. But also maybe if they're not losing weight. Okay, let's see, let's figure this out. Also, are you eating too many calories? And that can happen too. Sometimes that initial loading dose too isn't enough for some people. And they do need to go up to that 5 milligrams or 7.5 if we're talking tirzepatide numbers. Those are definitely things that we take a look at. If
Sure.
somebody can't eat, really having side effects, we work super hard to address those things by eating small, consistent meals and trying our best to stay on that lower dose so they have time to adjust on the medication.
Have you seen any people? Somebody told me that they just cannot take this medication. Like, it gives them horrific vomiting. They've tried, like, the different ones. Have you seen people like that?
Yes, absolutely. I have to say, since we started Tide, I feel like we really tackle those pretty well. We have all kinds of tips and tricks and, the ability to prescribe Zofran if someone's sick. We can switch medications. We can talk about rotating injection sites. We talk about how to eat, going on a diet, certain diets to help with this. And people, I would say 99.5% usually can do it and do well,
Okay.
unless there's some kind of extreme situation. But I want to say, knock on wood, we have not really seen that.
Right.
Prior, I have worked for large telehealth companies doing this, and it's managed very differently. I had many people stop very fast.
That's a little frightening to me. While I agree with access, I think that just unfettered access with no follow-up and no real care is a little scary.
It's completely scary because weight loss is a journey and there's so much to it. Taking the medication, and understanding the side effects and how the medication works is it's a science and there's so much to it. And for people to lose the safe, effective weight, they really need managed care, not just someone that writes them a script and says, go have fun. And we do get a lot of people actually from places like that coming to us and they say, I felt terrible. I couldn't eat. And then I stopped the meds. I gained the weight back. And I always start off by saying, We want you to feel good. This medication has too many positive benefits, and we have ways to help you feel your best.
So let's talk about some of the like habits that you help people put in place that help make them successful on the medication. So like nutrition, exercise, lifestyle, whatever you think.
Yeah, I mean, it all starts with nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the biggest piece of this. And hydration, because the medication does cause you to, you might not really be that hungry. Well, what happens? You might not be that thirsty because you're full. So we really talk about that. And that's always one of my top tips when we always send everyone out a message. And also a link where they can meet with me directly to talk about all these things before they get started. No extra cost. It's all part of our program because we feel that it's that strongly that it's such an important piece of this. We really work on small balance plates because your typical diet, it's very different now. And if you start the medication and you aren't hungry, we still need to get nutrition in. So we really talk about the small, consistent meals throughout the day. And that helps so many. And then also with the medication, with the delayed gastric emptying, you cannot physically eat the large meals. So you are automatically losing calories. Well, what happens when you lose calories? Then you get tired. And then people are so tired. And then they feel terrible because they're exhausted. So this is why we really stress this. So building, and it's working with finding foods that people enjoy and that they would like to eat on the medication. Maybe it's a certain protein shake. Maybe it's only whole foods and we have to like work around that. Everybody has their own way of eating and we really accommodate that. But we recommend working with food, hydration, and there's different things we talk about with that. Also supplements, and we don't push anything crazy. We just talk about a few simple things that all of our patients can add in because the most common things that we hear with the medication is obviously like the food, whether it's not being able to eat as much or, food aversions, and then hydration and constipation. So we talk about all those things with the med so that you feel your best. Those are usually the triggers for people not feeling well.
So what are some of the supplements that you typically recommend? For me, it's always a multivitamin.
Always a multivitamin.
Always a multivitamin. And then I do kind of recommend other things based on like individual needs and maybe side effects.
Absolutely. I always recommend my top recommendation is magnesium. And I don't think everyone should take it. It's super safe, effective, super inexpensive. And we really don't like to recommend vitamins that are super expensive because people are already investing in the medication. So we do have some really good reputable brands that we recommend. And also Biotin collagen. One of the other things that people talk about a lot is hair loss. And usually it's not directly related to the actual medication, but rapid weight loss can cause that little bit of hair shedding and it's usually temporary, but also protein and hydration are super important for that because your hair is fueled by your nutrition.
Yep. So what about exercise or other lifestyle?
Yeah. We would love if every patient strength trains. In an ideal world, we would love to see everyone strength training 2 to 3 days a week, 20 minutes max. That's what you need. And this just helps you feel your best. It helps maintain that beloved muscle that everyone's worried about losing when they're on the medication. That would be in an ideal world. And if we have lots of patients that do more than that. And I say, keep it going. Don't stop. Do everything that you're doing now with the medication. At the bare minimum, I recommend and plead with everyone to at least walk. And walking is the best form of steady state cardio you can do. And we recommend that. I actually kind of push getting walking pads for my patients that all work from home. And I can't tell you how many people have been so delighted by that because it's life changing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that we were just talking about the weather here just a little bit ago and trying to get out on those to walk is not going to happen in some places.
I'm trying to figure out how to get my dogs on the walking pad without being scared because they need the exercise too.
Sure.
I know. So yeah, so walking at the very least. But in an ideal world, we really encourage strength training. And this is a huge part of a sustainable weight loss journey, getting these habits in place. And honestly, a lot of people, especially when someone has a significant amount of weight to lose, they maybe want to lose a little bit of the weight first and then start to strength train. And we work with our patients. We try our hardest to get anything in place that we can to get them to meet that goal of getting even at home or back to the gym or whatever that is. And usually once the weight starts coming off, your confidence starts coming back, you feel better about yourself, and that makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah, definitely. So let's talk about as we get closer to our goal or maybe want to just maintain where we are. What are some considerations there in terms of like using the medication still or not, or like what needs to be put in place to be able to maintain whatever you've lost?
Yeah, so this is where we really encourage our patients to meet with us when they're like, let's say you're at your goal. We want to make sure that you're eating enough calories daily so you can maintain your weight. So calories, protein, those are super important because if you start titrating down off the medication, some of that hunger is going to come back into play. We need to make sure you're eating the right sources of food, making sure that you're gravitating towards that balanced plate method that we really recommend, which is just portion control over protein, carbohydrates, and fat, and making sure that you're eating consistent calories 7 days a week, not just eating 2 days a week. And then all of a sudden you're hungry 4 days later and then eat everything in your cabinet. So it's super important. So consistent calories weekly, and we monitor as you decrease on the medication how your body's responding.
Hmm. And so do you have a tapering protocol that you follow, like, or is it just based on the individual?
It's totally based on the individual. Dr. Kelly, my business partner, she has a theory about that we kind of talk about with everyone's, titrating down. And some people go all the way back down to the starting dose. And then we also, because we have compounded medications, we have the ability for what everyone is talking about now with the microdosing. So we have the ability to go even lower than that,
Hmm.
which is safe and effective and very helpful for many patients that did very well on low doses that can go down. We do see we try to titrate down slowly, and this is what we highly recommend. So if you're at the highest dose of the medication, we recommend going slowly monthly and see how you're responding to the medication.
Hmm. Yeah, I've seen some research actually about the benefits of really taking it slow,
Oh yeah.
and that can maybe prevent some of the weight gain to a point where, but either you can get off or just stay on that sort of low dose. Do you ever spread out the doses, or is it more just like the
We
same
do.
amount?
And this is obviously not medical advice, but
Sure.
we definitely do that. So depending on what milligram you're on with the medication, you can technically go up to 14 days between doses. Once you hit that 14 days, really the medication is out of your system.
Hmm.
So we do have a lot of patients that once they're at goal, we start to extend their days from 7 days to like 10 to 12 days. And people do really well with that. It's great for them. And it enables you to kind of start feeling a little bit more like pre-med brain, which I think is really nice. I always tell people that when you're on the medication, this is like your homework. So you get to like have this experience and you understand like how food's making you feel and overeating, undereating, like all these things, what food makes you feel good, what food makes you feel bad. So it kind of gives you this time. And then as you start titrating down, we can really look at how your body's responding, how your brain's responding, because that's a huge piece of this, right? And if your weight is stabilized.
Hmm. I feel I've seen some people really talk about as they try to titrate down that food noise really comes back. They feel a lot of anxiety around that, maybe gaining weight. I had a friend who said didn't want to keep paying for it because it was so expensive. And I was like, well, you could spread out your doses and that would
Yeah.
help, or, go down in a dose and that would help. And she was like, but what if I gain the weight back? And I was like, but
Oh.
you'll know because you can weigh yourself and
Yeah.
you can get on top of it. So how do you address some of that fear around gaining the weight back?
Yeah, and it's completely real. Everyone, I feel like before people start, they always ask me that. And I'm like, hold on a second, we didn't even start yet. You're going to be so excited to like feel the benefits of the medication. That's where honestly, like working one-on-one with someone that's actually going to listen and talk to you eases so much of that anxiety.
Mhm.
And understanding that a little bit of weight gain is completely normal if you stop the medication. So setting that expectation up is completely normal. And I always explain that to people. If you decide, you know what, I really want to stop this medication. Okay, great. Let's get you a little bit maybe lower if you're up for it than what your goal weight was so that you understand that you might gain like a little bit of weight back. And that's totally fine. It's safe, effective. And I feel like that eases people's minds. So they're like, oh, okay, this is normal. This is what I should expect.
Mm-hmm.
But working on the food noise piece is just making sure that they are eating enough and they are feeling fueled and they are feeling good. And that's just coming back down to that, making sure you're getting enough protein in, you're not skipping meals, you're hydrating daily, and keeping up with those consistent patterns. When people start to kind of fall down the path of, going into the world of like spiraling downward is when they skip meals. And what happens is, even on the medication, even when the medication feels strongest those first few days, if you skip meals, you get rebound hunger. And that's the same world of coming back into starting to titrate down the medication. Consistency is the most important thing.
Right. And I think that they don't realize, they don't put the 2 and 2 together. They're like, why am I so hungry? I can't stop
I
eating.
know.
Well, because you didn't eat anything.
You didn't eat for 3 days. This is definitely, it happens all the time. I think when people are prepared with what to expect when they start a program, and that's something that we do very well at Tyde, is prepping people and understanding how you're going to feel and what you need to do. This avoids so much of that. But if you just like order meds somewhere and just get the medication, they're looking at TikTok and trying to get information. And it's just like not the case. This is real world experience of working with patients.
Right. Do you have any concern of like flippant use of this medication more and more now that we've got orals?
No.
Like people just being like, I'll just take it for 5 pounds and then I'll be off of it.
I feel like we've already I feel like it's everyone's kind of using the medication, especially like I said, we do microdose. And I think that it's been going on now for a couple years. So do people do that? I mean, yes. I don't know if it's going to get worse. And I don't know if the oral will make it worse. But I mean, are people doing that? Of course they are.
Yeah. I mean, I live in a high rent area outside of Nashville and people can afford it and they just don't care. They just do whatever with it. They can get it at every med spa in town.
Yeah. And that's really expensive to do that.
Yeah. But they have money. They don't,
Yeah.
doesn't matter to them.
I
So,
mean, and will those people continue using it? I don't know if they will. I think that when you use a program or looking for term benefits of the medication, that's who's getting the real benefits of this med. If you're just going to take it for a month to lose 5 pounds, you're not getting any of the benefits of the medication. You're not even experiencing the delightfulness of experiencing the less inflammation in your body that takes time to feel. I don't think that, or they're just getting it like every, I don't know, once a year so they can lose 5 or 10 pounds.
I mean, I don't know. They know better than to talk to me about it. I just hear through the rumor mill.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't ask. It's not my business, but I know it's happening.
Yeah, and I have to say, like, we do get patients that don't have a significant amount of weight to lose, but they also know that when starting the meds, we really explain that this isn't a 1 month situation. This is something that you really have to use for a few months. Even if you're on the really low doses, you're going to get the benefits from staying on the meds for at least 4, 5, 6 months. And we try to prep our best. And once they stay on the meds for that long, then they don't want to go off. Because they're like, whoa, I have never felt like my arthritis feel better in my hands. I mean, there's so many things here to think about other than just that a little bit of weight.
Sure. So what are some of these other benefits? I mean, the inflammatory thing, I think, is the biggest one. So what are some of the sort of life-changing things outside of weight loss that you've seen?
So I always tell people that, and just like kind of, not to get into like the whole like medical side of things, but the benefits that people come to us and they start to see that I love is so many people are like, I'm sleeping better. I have, I have less pain in my joints. Obviously we know the cardiovascular benefits. We know like the studies being done for dementia and all those things. But the joint pain relief, I hear all the time. Sleeping better. I'm trying to think what I've heard recently. Like I'm like trying to think of all the things that I hear about all the time because it's like every day it's like something new. But those are like my top things that I really stress, especially for all patients across the board. Those are the top things that I hear.
hmm I've had people tell me like they have less swelling, like they felt real puffy
Yeah.
before. They
Yep.
have less swelling. That's probably
Yep.
inflammatory. And then just like general things that just are related to the inflammatory system, I think are just kind of like maybe not as reactive to certain foods or medications or things like that. Like just a lot of different things. It's like interesting how it's impacting the inflammatory pathway.
Yeah, I tell like especially the people coming to us like, those low usually when you want to lose 5, 10, 15 pounds, it's so much inflammation and this just tackles it in a different way. It's incredible.
Yeah. I mean, there's
I actually like love getting those people because I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is so amazing. You're going to feel so good."
And so for a person like that, do you just keep them on like a lower dose for the inflammatory?
Yep. They don't yep, they're on super low doses,
Mhm.
because that's the protocol for
Sure.
anyone that's does not need to have a significant amount of weight to lose.
Sure, absolutely. So there's a lot coming down the pipeline with these meds, research-wise, new medications, all
Ah,
sorts of stuff.
yes. Retatrutide that everyone's getting
Oh,
somehow, not
I
even on the market.
that's something very terrifying. I don't really understand how it's happening. But so what are some of the things that you're excited about for the future of the GLP?
I'm really excited for the pills for people because I do understand that not everyone is up for injections. However, there are studies done that, obviously the injections are more effective in long-term studies. And I think that's going to be changing as the pills come out and different pills come out. We are really excited about Retatrutide. When we can get our hands on it, we're going to try it because we do obviously need to know how things feel. I feel like understanding the medication and how it feels for my patients is a huge benefit because I understand when you can't eat, you feel terrible, or if the dose is too strong. This Retatrutide that's coming out, I mean, I can't wait. I want to know what it's.
Yeah. I was on another podcast yesterday, some ladies who are GLP-1 users, and they've kind of stalled out at around 80-pound weight loss.
Yeah.
And they were both like, we want Retatrutide now. They've been
Yeah.
telling us for 2 years that it's coming and what's going on. So we'll
So
see.
actually you brought up a good point with the weight loss. Something that we're able to do that many companies are not able to do is we're able to prescribe other medications to help with GLP-1 if you stall. If we've tried all the things, there's other medication that you can add on top of a GLP-1 that
Huh.
can kind of get things moving again.
So are
Like
the like hormones
yeah.
like NADs and those types of things?
No, it's prescription medications like, naltrexone, and then there's some other things that we look at depending on for the individual. And, obviously under the branded meds for people being able to use insurance, there's kind of different things that we're able to do for them.
Mm. Yeah. I It's funny, people come to me a lot with plateau questions, and my
Yeah.
answer is always like, see a healthcare provider. Like, I cannot answer this on TikTok.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know
yeah,
why you're stalling,
yeah. And and
so
there is a lot of you understand this, but there's a lot of reasons why that will happen. And we see that when there's significant weight loss at first, or, and this time of year is really hard. I'm sure you're seeing this too after the holidays, and people's routines are a little bit different, and the weather's cold in many places, and maybe you're not as active. And those are all strategies we use when we're looking at weight loss, right? So, how we're looking at weight loss is dropping calories down or changing macros or adding in steps. So those are all things that we use. I have a patient right now. I'm like, "Hey, how many steps did you get in?" "Nothing." "Well, we're like kind of at a plateau here. We're going to try these strategies before we increase your medication
Mhm.
because you're feeling all of the benefits of the meds, but you're not doing all the work behind the meds."
Right. So it's hard, like, you have to have some type of care and somebody who can sit with you and say, okay, maybe it's not lack of steps. Maybe you are doing that. Maybe it's you're not getting the protein, or maybe you're
Yep.
eating too much, or maybe you're your stress is out of control, or, there's so many factors that I think that that's what makes it even more important to have quality care. So where
Yeah.
can people find out about you and what you offer, Beth?
Yeah, so we do, and I love to say this too, because we do free consults with Dr. Kelly all the time. And this is even to talk through options. And we look at, are you eligible for insurance-based? Or are we looking at a compounded medication? Or are we looking at something else? We offer many different things because we can prescribe branded medication too through insurance. So TydeWellness.com is our website. You can go there to schedule a free consult. You can also find us on Instagram at Join Tyde. It's TYDE. I know it is what it is. And I also try my best to post on at GLP1.wellness. And I'm happy to always answer. I post lots of good information on there. I'm happy to answer non-medical related questions. We can't ever, talk about dosing, things like that. But I do love to help in any way we can. I know that there's lots of different places out there to get medication. I think we're the best, but, we're here to help in any way we can.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here and sharing all of your valuable insight from the front lines. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. If you want to stay connected with me and the GLP-1 Hub community, I have a free newsletter called the Steady State Newsletter, all about mindset and reaching your GLP-1 goals. You can find that in the show notes or at join.glp-1hub.com. And that is something I send every single week. And thank you so much to Beth for coming on and sharing all of her wonderful expertise. And I'll see you in the next episode.